We as the people of Hawaii are so engaged now in the knowing. We are practicing more of our culture and our traditions. We are exchanging a lot of ideas. There's no walls anymore, but many of us are now building organizations, being the examples for many of our people who have moved away, become transplant Hawaiians, to allow them to get involved once again as well. Hula does connect to male. The hula does connect to the female. Hula does connect to the creator. Hula connects to earth and sky, land, creatures, everything. Everything in our hula, again, goes back to life.
Back in the old days, the men were the first dancers, yeah? And I think the kumu hula back then were men. So, it was later. I think that women became kumu hula.
Our ancient dance is an oral tradition.
They would speak to one another, then eventually they would start singing to each other, chanting to each other, and that's how their oli and mele started to come about. Chant or oli then became a very important part of life for them.
Kahiko, very simply, it is the ancient form of hula. It is the ancient way of dance. It is the ancient way of our poetry. And the movement of the hula really reflects everything in life, the elements, all the things that were created in nature.
Hand movements are very important.
Hula is telling stories with your hands.
It is what we utilize with our heart and our spirit, and which allows us to move. It's all about the emotions and the characteristics of life and everyday life.
So a lot of it is just life itself.
The human body is insignificant to everything around us. Everything around us in our natural resources was here before man. That's something we always have to be mindful of. Always be aware of your surroundings, always observe nature. All of our lessons can be taught to us and how we're supposed to live as human beings if we only look at nature more often. There are implements that were actually conceived only for the hula. Anything outside of that wasn't conceived for the hula is considered a prop. The uli, the rattling feather gourds, the pu'ili, the split bamboo, ili, the river rocks, kakala'au, the sticks. We have the ipu, which is the single gourd, and we have the ipuheke, the double gourd. The ohe, the bamboo, the split bamboo sticks, they represent certain kinds of sounds that we hear in nature. Whether it be the rustling of the river and stream, or even a bird that chirps. It could even represent thunder, lightning, rumbling, things of that sort, crackling. But also the pu'ili, the split bamboo, is also quite vigorous and fast, and you can use it to create incredible dances. The purpose of the skirt was because when you look at the mountains, the top of the ridge of the mountain, the ridge is that fine line of the ridge of the elastic or the rope. When you look at the valleys, that is all the flows of the skirt. Underneath the skirt, like the earth, it brings warmth, and when you begin to dance, everything underneath becomes heated and warm. There is a natural energy that comes with the ancient dances. It's when we can get rid of our human self and try to put ourselves in that origin, or to reenact what it is we're portraying in the dance. Hawaiians like to use metaphors, illusions, personifications, and hide the true meanings. Using plants, using water, using mud, using ferns, using the caressing of the mist, or being overwhelmed and being overwhelmed by the rain, being drenched by that. These are all poetical concepts that we use. Earth and sky. That alone is a 24-hour procreational concept. Everything evolves 24/7. That everything was created before man, that are considered to be traditional, hasn't been altered for generations. They are intact as they were passed down for many generations. When James Cook arrived, they also brought with them their Christian faith. And when they saw the hula being performed, they thought that what we were doing was heathen to some degree and gave off the wrong kind of influence that they saw as being sinful. That caused a big uproar.
I know hula was stopped. So when the missionaries came, they felt the hula was vulgar. They saw it to be that way.
The gyrating of the hips and doing those kinds of movements, we didn't see it as distasteful. We saw it as a way of celebrating life. So we all ended up practicing the hula actually in hideaways and in caves.
They did it in hiding because they could not do it in the open. And then King David Kalakaua started to allow it at his many gatherings and parties. And so that's why we have the Merrimonic Festival in his honor, because he really revived the hula and brought it back to life.
Today, in the 21st century, actually the hula has revived itself in Waikiki. Hawaiian essence of the hula, or the Hawaiian essence of the dance, is now being more perpetuated because people that come from afar will now understand what is truly Hawaiian.
Hey, Haka-chan, she followed really well.
There is a thing called classical hula. Hula Auana is the modern dance. And there was a period actually that was called the hula ku'i. Ku'i meaning to add. There was a period where we were being influenced with westernized instruments and hymns and songs and music.
I would say that Auana came about when they started to introduce the musical string instruments to Hawaii. Yeah, because in Kahiko, it's just the pahu, the drum, and the ipu. When you get into Auana, you then have the ukulele, the guitar, steel, piano, bass, all those musical instruments come into view. That's when Hawaiians started to just be more free in what they were doing.
Auana literally means to wander. So we wandered away from our root. But now with all of us traveling overseas and having the ability of having all this knowledge and wisdom to share, allows us now an opportunity to make sure that for the betterment of our culture, that we continue to engage in education and to engage in our compassion for our brother and our sister in our Hawaiian society, that the next generation will continue on these wonderful things that we have in our culture. Not just the hula, but the language, the healing, the medicinal plants, different types of words that help us to understand principles and characteristics. These are all happening today. So it is a good time for us now. We got tons of people speaking Hawaiian again. If that's not a success, I don't know what is. So I think it is certainly a good time for us to continue this engaging with our people all over the world.
The responsibility of a kumu is to continue to carry on the hula traditions.
So in the future of hula for Kahiko, we only can hope and pray that it'll remain very traditional and that everybody in the hula, whether they are kumu hula practitioner of the hula, has the ability to make good decisions. This is probably one of the most hardworking generations now, the generation that I'm in. And that's why I love, being where I'm at now, because many of us are out there teaching. Everything in hula, all our chants can tell us everything about morals, everything about ethics, everything about our daily life and how to tune into our resources and try to forget the cement jungle and the asphalt and technology.
When the visitors see the hula, they say, wow, so beautiful. But in reality, the hula is just not stand up and dance, For us, we believe that hula is life. You see, you smell, you taste, you hear, you feel. All of that is in hula.
And when people come in, even to our workshops and our classes here, they sit down and they quickly get involved just with the whole power of it, the whole spirit of it. If we can get that part across to our audience, the rest is quite simple in terms of engaging with our audience and getting them more involved, where they become a student or they become a supporter or they become someone who is inspired to learn and study more about our culture or even come more often to Hawaii. This is what the hula does for many people. We find people just crying because they love what they see. So when people get moved by certain kinds of dances or certain kinds of choreography, it brings out that kind of energy that is right for every person. They all get it differently, but the delivery is always the same. For us, hula is life because we can learn everything about our life through hula, because the oral traditions, all our ancient texts, tells us everything about how we should live.
Hula is built on love, yeah? So when we hula, in teaching our haumana or our students, you don't come to hula to just be a robot and wind you up and you dance, yeah? Hula is something that's in your heart. Yeah, it's built on love. So you need to have this love for what you're doing, for what you try to express, what you're trying to bring across, and it's all from inside. You need to feel what you're doing and enjoy every moment.
But when the haumana, the student, gets on stage, their job is not to perform for their family or their friends. It's for their family and friends to take witness and give testimony to their good deeds and tasks as a hula dancer.
I think it's important that we pass it on, because if we don't, that particular legacy or hula tradition is then lost. I have 2 students that have been with me since day one, and I did sit them down and explain to them that in order for our legacy to continue, I will need someone to help perpetuate it and carry it forth, and they know that. And when the time is right, we will then sit down and talk about proper protocol. When the time is right, we'll be ready. They'll be ready, I'm sure.